Hello again. Welcome to another session, and this time we are focusing on pivot tables and pivot charts. Sometimes you may have data, sometimes quite a large number of information or data, and you may want to analyze it quickly. Pivot tables and pivot charts are a good way of quickly analyzing that information and presenting it in a way that is visual. Can have more meaning to the people who are looking at the data. So this is part of exercise 4, the last question, where we are supposed to create a pivot table and a pivot chart. So the first thing we are going to do this quickly and on the go. We are going to select our data. And we are going to go to the insert menu. And under the charts group of all the different charts, we have one icon that allows us to create a pivot chart. And if you click on the drop down arrow, it has pivot chart, and another option is pivot chart and table. So you can select either of the two, because whichever you select, it will put a table and a chart. So we are going to go ahead and click this second option. And we get a pop-up window that allows us to verify the range we've selected. Remember, we had already highlighted, and right now it's being represented by a dotted line showing that this is the actual data you're going to use. If you have an existing table elsewhere, you can select, but for this exercise we are using the data that's on that worksheet. And then the second one is choose where you want to put the pivot table, and we want to select the option new worksheet, and we are going to click OK. Now when you click OK, you're going to realize that a new sheet has been created, and on that sheet you have 3 different elements. On the extreme left you have a pivot table. In the middle, what is currently selected is a pivot chart, and on the right you have the pivot fields, the fields that you're going to use. And these fields are the same headings or the same columns from the data that you had selected. You will notice that we have students, gender, city, transport, and allowance. So these are the fields that we are going to analyze, and next to each of those fields there is a small box that allows you to select the fields that you'd like in the pivot table. Let me just zoom out for a second so that you can see what is on the screen. I'm just going to move the chart to the middle there. Okay, so we are going to start. The question didn't say specifically what we needed to analyze, but we shall start with a simple one. Let's say we would like to get a chart that shows the students. We're going to click in the pivot fields. We click and put a tick inside that field for students, and we want to show the allowance that each of the students got. So we've selected both those fields, and you'll notice that the pivot table shows the names of the students and the allowance each of those got, and it's actually already giving a total of the allowances gotten there. So this is a quick way of doing that analysis. Just by the click you can be able to know the total allowance or the sum of the allowances. And when we look at the chart, we are able to tell how much each of the different people got in terms of allowance. We had a simple table, but that's the chart showing us each of those. And you can do different things with these. Remember last time we looked at filtering. We can click on one of these labels over here, and we may want to filter. Let us say we want to make a filter label. We want to show only those people whose names begin with the letter B. Let's say B, and we just type here B, and you will notice that now our table is showing only the people whose names begin with the letter B, and also the chart is showing the same. So quickly you can be able to filter out, change your information, check for different things in the table by using the filters and different things. So I'm going to clear the filter from students. I'm going to also change the pivot table. Let's say we would like this time, let me remove students. I remove the tick. I'm also going to remove allowance. This time would like to know the allowances received according to the different cities. So I'm first going to select the city, and you will notice on the side that it is showing the different cities that were in our data. And the next item I want is the allowance. So I'm going to put a tick on the allowance field, and you will notice that it has summarized how much allowance was given to the different people coming from the different cities, and the pivot table has also done the same, the pivot chart. And I could want to change the way this chart appears. Say for example I may want a pie chart. Make sure that the chart area is selected. You go to design on the main menu bar, and you could change the way the chart appears. Okay, you can change the chart in the different options, or you could change the chart type. In this case I said I want to use a pie chart, and I click OK. And still, even with the pie chart, I may want the pie chart to appear in a different way or in a different format. I could go ahead and select how I want the information to appear, and I select that type of pie chart. Let me select one which shows the labels of each of the different, the percentages of each of these, and that is it. I have a pie chart now representing each of the different cities and the allowances received. I may just click the chart title here and type to change the information in the title. Let me just say allowances per city, and I enter. Okay, so there is that, and you can copy this and paste it in another program, either in PowerPoint, either in Microsoft Word, and you paste it as a picture so that you'd be able to represent this data. So you can make many different tables, many different charts using the pivot table and the pivot chart. Let us do one more. Let us say let's first remove these from here, close out of these two, and we may decide that this time we would like to show the gender. Okay, we click to show the gender, and we would like to know the allowance apportioned to each of the different groups or each of the different genders that are listed over there. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to click on the option allowance, and it brings up and shows us that the female group got 24,000 and the male group got 40,000 in total. And that is how we use the pivot charts. We've made it very simple, and you will notice here at the bottom sometimes you may want to sum, like in this case it has summed the values. We may want to do something else with the different things over there. For example, instead of giving a sum of the allowances, we may want to show the number of female and the number of males. So in that case we are going to remove allowance, and if we want to show gender and we want again to show the number of males and the number of females, you would have to drag that field called gender. Notice that you have already ticked it, right? So it's showing up. So you're going to drag the gender again, and this time you're going to put it under the values. And now it's counting how many females there are and how many males there are in this group of students. So you can see how it has made a count of both of those. So this is how we use pivot tables briefly. You can use it in many more ways. This is very simple, very basic, but remember what we said. It helps you to analyze your data in a quick way and in a way that can allow you to present the information quickly in another office program, or present it in a way that is visual to the different people. Let me just go ahead and change this title. This is gender of maybe participants or students. Gender of students. Okay, so that is a more appropriate title for that. Okay, so this is where we are going to stop on this exercise. I hope you have learned how to use pivot tables and pivot charts. Don't forget that in order to use a pivot table chart, the first thing you do is select the data you want to use, and then you go ahead to insert, and you insert the pivot chart or pivot table that you want to use. Okay, thank you everybody, and see you in the next session.